Tim's come in?
Just text him.
Before we start, should we talk about that football game on Friday with Mr. Johnson? Or?
Yeah, talk about it.
It was great. I was at Disney on Ice when Hawks were
Get
mounting
my
that remarkable
retirement.
comeback.
We don't have to.
Streaming now. You guys are on.
We are streaming. Okay, we are streaming.
Well, we will go ahead and get started then. We'll start with
Not
roll
gonna be your
call.
new job, Ed, you're gonna coach
That's what I said.
Nebraska.
Oh, what'd you say?
Keller?
Yes, here.
Donna Kramer,
Here.
Dan Metzger,
Here.
Tim Mills not here, Mac Rankin,
Here.
Ryan Merling. Here. And Sue Wilson.
All right. And we'll go ahead and begin with our good news.
Just a little bit of good news. A couple of things are kind of holdovers from previous meetings that kind of came in late right before the last meeting. There were some pictures there of some neat things that Mrs. Smith's WIN class did, some cards and some paintings for Veterans Day. They wrote personal cards to the veterans, and then they gave some little thank you paintings to the bagpipers who were there for that assembly. And I have a note there about Erica Knupp. I had mentioned it before, I think, but she got to audition for a solo at the Allstate Festival. Allstate Festival was held the weekend of November 18th through 20th. It was a great show. Then we have a picture of our new National Honor Society inductees and the list of their names. Some nice honors for our football program. Josh Lohman was the 4A Assistant Football Coach of the Year. And then I just had posted that and found out that Coach Kluver was the District Coach of the Year. And then since then, too, we've had a number of players who had different honors, too. So very successful year. And then I put a couple of pictures in there of Mr. Higgins' class. I know we've talked several times about the work they're doing with masonry and the trades. We had an added benefit with this project. The facilities department provided the materials, and the class provided the labor, and then a labor union person came and helped too, and we poured slabs at the baseball field for limited mobility seating. So that was a great project.
Thanks, Art. Any other reports from other board members? Okay. Next is our delegations petitions. Are you here to speak?
Nobody tonight?
Okay. And then we'll go into our consent agenda.
Go ahead.
Although it pains me to approve one of the retirements on there, as long as nobody has any question, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion made by Ben to approve,
I'll second it.
seconded by Donna.
Reluctantly.
Any further discussion by board members? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is a presentation by Whittier.
And we have Whittier
Mr.
Elementary here
Johnson.
presenting tonight. Mr. Johnson was kicking himself a little bit for the timing of this, his retirement and their presentation, but certainly do appreciate everything you have done for everybody at Whittier Elementary, and we appreciate Whittier being here tonight too to talk to us a little bit about CKLA, right? Our new language arts curriculum.
It's been an honor.
Would
Yes, you do have it.
you mind using the podium and just using the microphone when you
I
speak?
have it banned from the microphone.
Can we, yeah,
No, it's not.
okay.
Okay.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. Ray, I'll try to give you a beat for the slides.
Sounds
But last year, our district, led by Annette, I think had a couple of teams where we looked at some new reading curriculum, reading and language arts. I think our district, Annette, you can chime in here if I'm off. But I know we piloted a couple reading programs. And after input from the staff and all that stuff, a lot of thought, discussion, we decided to go with the CKLA product that we're going to share with you here in just a moment. I guess one thing, you know, it's had some growing pain. I shouldn't say really growing pains, but you know, I've been doing this for like 25 plus years, and This change has come with the least amount of resistance that I've ever encountered when it comes to a curricular change. It's been so positive. And, you know, again, I've been doing this a long time, but it's been a really good thing. So without further ado, we'll turn it over to some competent educators, but I want to introduce Katie Naylor, 4th grade teacher at Whittier, Angie Borgmeyer, 2nd grade teacher. Dion Appleson is our instructional coach, but the flu season decided to grab her Sunday night, and she's just still not there, so she cannot be here. Katie and Angie, extremely talented educators like we have, and they are C&I reps, teacher leaders at Whittier, and I would also say our district. So, Ray, you can go to the next slide. I can probably. I'm going to turn it over to them. Please feel free if you have questions. Put it on now.
Ray, you can go to the next slide, please.
Do I have to do the IT guy?
I guess so. One of those nights, I guess. All right, we'll try that.
So CKLA is, the K2 is set up differently than the 3-5. We have two separate components. We have a skills component as well as a knowledge component. The skills is right on their grade level, pushing them forward, and it's so much repetition and the kids are really getting it. The knowledge portion is more of a listen and learn. It is, the texts are set 2 grade levels above where the kids are, but it's so engaging, and they're learning those comprehension skills during that time. So far, we have just really loved it. And I would say our biggest challenge is the challenge everybody has with everything, time. Skills for 1 hour and knowledge for 1 hour. That's hard to, and especially this first year, because it's taking us a little more than an hour to get through it. But we're already excited about a lot of things we can do differently or start differently for next year. So it has been a good start for us.
Stay on that slide for just 1 second there. Thank you. Okay, so in grades 3 through 5, we don't have that broken up skills and knowledge portion. It's just all integrated. And when I say integrated, I mean social studies, science, writing, spelling, reading, all of language arts components. So when we're reading often about topics that are more in the areas of science and social studies, history, but a lot of nonfiction. And so that, we get a good variety of genres. We're currently in our poetry unit. But so it is truly integrated, and so we don't have that separate skills and knowledge component like you'll hear the K2 teachers talking about. Ours is just 90 minutes of integrated, all integrated together. So.
Was that, did you have reading on the Middle Ages? I saw some kind of neat pictures.
Yeah, we have
Was
some
that
photos.
CKLA? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we're
Great.
going to share some of those photos. So yes,
Great.
that was CKLA. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go on now.
We just thought this was a really good visual of how they wind the 2 strands together, with the green being more of the skills part and the blue, purple being our knowledge area, where it is all very intertwined. We're just learning more and more as we go.
Yeah, and the reason I like this graphic is, you won't come in and necessarily see us doing 15 minutes of vocabulary, 15 minutes of comprehension, 15 minutes of sentence work. It's truly all tied together. And I think that's the most real and authentic way to teach. And I think that's why it's working, is that, it's not broken up into this component, that component. It's truly all works together. And it's been engaging for the kids, and it's working well. So that's what I like about that, is it really shows how a day goes for us. Not broken up, but everything just comes together.
Is spelling in this, or is it?
There are, yes, there, especially you'll see some pictures here soon of the K2, some of the lessons on word work and spelling. That's a big part of their skills component. And again, at 4th and 5th grade, it's much more integrated. There's a ton of writing. We write a lot. And so within that, they're getting a lot of spelling practice, a lot of immediate feedback. But there are certain lessons that do, they'll get a spelling list, or we'll work on some word parts and things. And then also in the intervention component, for kids that need that extra intervention boost, if the core isn't meeting their needs, there's a lot of phonics and word work that you can use as an intervention tool.
And that carries on through 3-5 too then?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Yeah,
And in
it's great.
2nd grade, we introduced what's called spelling trees. So there's a tree for each long vowel sound, and they learn all the different ways that you can make the long A sound. So one branch is a consonant E, and another branch is AI. But the kids, it really shows them how common they have what is called a power bar on the cards that we show with the sound. So it shows how common a spelling would be. It's so many visuals for them that it is just really neat.
Great.
We're gonna get to see those, I think, here.
Mm-hmm. The next slide was shared with us at a training that we had earlier this year when the CKLA rep came. And, when you think of kind of a formula for reading, I think a lot of people have always thought of it as an addition problem. You have to decode the text, plus you have to comprehend in order to be reading. And they explained it as a multiplication problem because, I don't need to do the math for you, but what she said is that if any part of that is a zero, so if there's zero decoding, but they're able to somehow make some meaning out of the text, the answer is still zero. They're not reading. If they're decoding and they're reading the words but they're not making meaning, the answer is still zero. And so she encouraged us to think of it like a multiplication problem rather than addition problem because of that zero factor. So, in order to truly have kids read to gain meaning, it all has to come together, and they both have to be present. So we just thought that was kind of an interesting way to think about it. And then now I think what we'll do is we have pictures from every grade level.
Did you have a question?
Who's she?
The trainer that came, and I cannot remember what
That's
her name
part
was,
of
but a trainer
From
from
CKLA.
CKLA. Yeah, she was. It was at one of our PD days we had at the high school.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So all the rest of the slides are going to be photos that we took at Whittier of CKLA in action, and we have some slides for each grade level.
And so just in this kindergarten, we showed you how the manual is so laid out. The dark highlighted things tell you other things you can add or where you reinforce a definition to get that enriched vocabulary going. The picture above it is we all have flip charts that have great visuals. That is also an online component. To just flip it through and have it on the screen. So that has been nice that we could use either way. You can go to the next. One thing they're doing there is using the big letters to spell words, and they have a lot of those huge letter cards that they use in kindergarten and 1st grade. Here's some small group work in 1st grade. It shows a picture also of their readers or their text. Small, it's all decodable. And then, of course, our awesome gentle giant that just gets right down there with them. So, again, with those cards, they're doing something called chaining, and it's really big in CKLA. We continue to do it in second grade, but it's looking out, looking for those sounds. So the first word was bout, and they traded the B for an SH, made shout, traded the vowels to make shoot. So they're doing it with the actual cards. Once we get into second grade, they do a lot of it writing on their board. If I wanted to change bout to shout, show me what you do. And so they're getting that practice. But again, it's a repetitive. It's happening in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. So couple of our knowledge units. One was ancient Greek civilization, and then we had a Greek myths unit. So we did a huge culminating activity with it. They dressed up as their favorite gods or goddesses. And then we just had a whole day of activities planned. We ended the day with an Olympics. Can you go to the next one, please? We had great participation from everybody in our building there. Our PE teacher came in on his day off and ran our Olympics for us. Had every child's name on a screen, and it just made it a great day for it. Mr. Johnson led us into the ceremony carrying the torch. Then they all participated in some event. They all got to podium, but they're just so excited about what they're learning. The content is rich.
Okay, these are some shots from a third grade classroom, and on the left you see a young man with his, what we call their reader. So they have, this is kind of like what you would think of as a textbook, but they're soft cover books, and there's a different reader that they get for each unit, so they're real student friendly. On the right, this is the digital online component to CKLA that students can have access to, where they can look back at vocabulary words. They have all the stories on, audio that they can follow along and listen. So great for if you're absent, or it's just a good thing that we can have them do during an intervention time or review, where they go back and listen to stories again that they liked. So it's easy to use, and it's right there. We all have access to it. Just some more pictures of kind of trying to show you what the inside of the student readers look like. You can see, good color, and then they have their student workbooks that they work out of. And that's been one of the biggest benefits to this, is it's just so teacher and student friendly. We have all the materials that we need right at our fingertips. We're not going out searching for anything. It's right there. It's easy. It's engaging. It's high interest. It's colorful. It's fun. It's just really nice to have what we need at our fingertips. So this is fourth grade. This is the grade that I teach, and this is what Art was referring to. Similar to what second grade did with their unit. We studied the Middle Ages, and so we ended with Middle Ages celebration, and this is just some of the kids' costumes. Another thing I'd like to add is that we've been able to do a lot of really good collaboration with other buildings. Irving kind of led the way, and they were a little bit ahead of us, and so they were wonderful to share all of the ideas and things that they did ahead of us, and then they came back and shared that with us, and we had a grade level meeting a couple weeks ago in my classroom, and it was just really good conversation, and it's really brought us back together. We're all on the same page. We're all talking about the same thing, whereas like I said before, you may have felt like you didn't have what you needed right at your fingertips, or you weren't sure if it was the best for what the kids needed, and now we have that common language and that common conversation. It's been really good for our district in terms of teamwork and collaboration. just some more pictures from some activities we did for our middle ages unit here. And this is 5th grade, looking at their student books and readers in their Don Quixote unit they're in currently. You'll see the teachers up front. There is a lot of, whole group teacher directed instruction, which research is kind of showing how important it is to have that good, explicit, direct instruction from teachers. And CKLA does a great job of, I think, of just that part of teaching that we know is so crucial. And then the other thing I want to highlight is the poetry units that I know 4th and 5th grade have and are in or just were in. The poetry units have been just wonderful. Poetry is something that until you go back and really teach it the way we are now, you kind of forget how much you can learn from it and how good of readers you can become by having to dig in and get, to the bottom of a poem and really try to figure out its true meaning. And the discussions that we're having, the kids are writing and writing and writing poetry and so excited about it. It's just been a really neat unit, and the little poetry books they were really excited when they saw those on their desk the first day. Okay, well, do you have any questions for us?
I do. So for the interactive learning and for the large group, is that all scripted in the curriculum, or is that at a teacher's discretion, or what's that look like?
Well, a lot of it's a read for the knowledge part. It's a read aloud, so
Okay.
that is scripted.
So the kids up front with the big letters, is that all programmed as part of it, or? is
Yes,
it a
those are
suggestion?
activities that they're doing. And it's pretty laid out in the manual of how you do it.
Yes, the teacher's manual, it is scripted, so, and that's, it might sound, I know sometimes we get caught up on that word, scripted instruction, but it's not that we don't have the freedom to
Sure.
personalize it, but I can't tell you how nice it is to know what I'm doing every day and to know that what I'm doing is researched. It's been studied by teachers. It's been selected by teachers. It's just so nice to know that what I'm doing is the right thing, and it feels good, and it feels right, and it's right there for me. The other thing I would add is that Annette came around to each building at the beginning of the year, and she did really kind of give us that message about teaching it with integrity, especially this first year, and trying to really follow the script and follow what CKLA has given us. And I know at our building, we're proud of that. We're working hard to stick to it and teach it with integrity and do all the parts of it and follow through. And I think that's caused us to believe in it and to really like it.
Yeah, I just think we're seeing the benefits of it.
The payoff is there.
And then my follow-on would be, do you have I assume that you wait until the full year of teaching it, right? The CKLA, and then at a certain point, you're gonna go back and you'll look at the
Scores and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, to compare from the previous.
Yeah, that will be, I think it'll take a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Any other questions?
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much, appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for all your work.
How'd you like it?
We had to watch Michigan football highlights there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is our V1, letter A under there is an updated membership list for the Teacher Quality Committee. Or do you want to give a little background?
Does this committee, is this year by year? And how do new teachers have the opportunity to step on? People have the opportunity to step off, how
Yeah.
does-
Do you want to speak to that?
I don't oversee the committee, but it is an annual committee that's approved by the board. You have to have equal numbers of the administrators and representatives from the union, from And what they do is there are discussions about how the teacher quality money is used throughout professional learning plans within the district, but there's also a lot of other areas related to whether, for example, evaluation is taking place equitably throughout the district according to our plans. There might be a third component to it, but those are the two main ones that they take a look at each year.
And it is spelled out. There are guidelines from the Department of Education that we follow in terms of the representation. This is not a committee that meets particularly often, and it's not like some of our focus groups that we have are kind of more interest-based, and you have the ability to apply for, there's some extra compensation. This is a little different type of committee than that.
We would just need a motion to approve this committee.
Teacher Quality Committee members.
Motion made by Donna to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Ben. Any further discussion by board members? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the Reconsideration Committee.
Yep, I would just comment, this is in policy. We have this committee, the makeup of the committee, and 3 of the members are community members, and the board previously appointed 3, but 2 of those had conflicts in the upcoming weeks and months. So I was asking you to replace Jackie Ward and Sharon Keller with Deb Hayden, Patty Alexander. Lynn Corey remains. She's the 3rd one. I didn't put her name back on there for approval because she's still available. So just to explain why you're seeing that again.
And this is the committee that reviews all the books, or just certain books?
This is the committee that if we get a request to reconsider to look at particular books, this is the committee that does it.
Okay, so this was the same committee as a month ago or 2 months ago with that one?
Same committee, some different makeup. Yep.
Another motion to approve this committee is what would be needed.
Make a motion to appoint Deb Hayden, Patty Alexander for the Reconsideration Committee.
Motion made by Tim.
Second.
Seconded by Ryan. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the School Improvement Advisory Committee report. It's probably Mrs.
So included in your packet is the minutes from our most recent School Improvement Advisory Committee meeting, often referred to as SIAC. You'll see SIAC on there quite a bit. And as explained in here, financial literacy was one of the life skills that was of a high interest to the SIAC committee last spring and felt it was really important for our students. And through those conversations with the committee, it was still reinforced that we do a lot in our district. There's a lot of educational value in things that we reach out to our students for, but that information doesn't always get to the parents and or the community. And so we're trying to balance that effort between getting that information out to parents and community through our website, through principals with their newsletters, Facebook, but at the same time also getting advice from SIAC as to where can we improve. How can we continually move forward? And so financial literacy, because that was one of those topics, we brought in the high school teachers to explain the courses that, the course that's required and the one that is also an elective, what is covered within those courses, and they brought some students to also present. And it was just a really nice conversation about what value this is for students. And I know that Kelly Rixner, who is the assistant principal, took away some of those ideas for the high school to consider further. And also to take a look at some of the other demographic information and enrollment pieces within those courses. So the one thing I would point out is from the handout there that you have the handout that was provided from personal finance and the financial literacy. The ones in yellow were ones that were very similar between the two courses. One is a semester-long elective, personal finance, and financial literacy is within the econ class that's required, and they spend a total about 5 to 6 weeks within that required course before students would graduate. I did dig into a little bit of the statistics, and it looks like by the time from our senior class, about 50% of our seniors that are graduating have enrolled in that elective course, in addition to them having taken the required course. That's where we're at so far.
So what's in yellow? What's in yellow is what's in both courses?
Is some of the similar content between both that Brock Rogers, who presented that evening, was pointing out to the committee.
Was there anything that they thought like, that's in the elective course that maybe would be good to have in the required course? Anything to bring over, some?
Possibly, because the financial literacy piece is a little bit more broader in scope in terms of economics in the globally. And of course, the personal finance, the kids really connect to that, because that's where, okay, if you're gonna buy a car, if you're gonna afford something, and it gets more to that real life connection with them. So that's a part for them to continue talking about in comparison to what's required from the state of Iowa. Is there room to include any other pieces?
Sure.
But also to make sure parents and the students are aware of this option at the high school.
Right.
And, and within our online learning program, we also have one of the personal finance courses. So another discussion to take place is if a student can't fit this into their schedule, is this one of the first or maybe an additional experience they could have with an online course before they leave the high school if they're truly wanting it but can't fit it into their schedule.
Oh, okay.
So,
They could take that at any time?
well, this one typically is for if you're a sophomore or older.
But like during the summer break, they could take
It would be during the school year because you have to have a teacher who is assigned as the content grader.
Okay.
Who actually, we call them gates, and they move them through the course after they take their assessments throughout it to make sure they're on track and in learning. And they're just not a self-paced completely on their own.
Okay. Any questions for Annette?
This is elective, right, not core?
The financial literacy is a component within econ that every student has to take before they graduate.
Okay.
The personal finance, or the financial literacy one is an elective, which is a semester long, that is optional for students.
Thanks, Annette.
Yeah.
Next is the 2022 summer and 2022-2023 school year child care rates.
This, you need a motion.
So if you look at them, we're usually do about 2 years, we've done in the past, 2 years at a time and not increased. But we have been able to kind of hold our own, and the childcare has held steady with some of the COVID funds. With Governor Reynolds wanting the childcares to stay open, we were the only childcare in the whole metro area that was open. So that helped us in the long run financially, and we're proposing not to increase it this year as well. So
I thought earlier this year we talked about like something was upside down there.
it was earlier until we got, so as you looked at it, it was negative, and then when we had to do that, we do a transfer within those COVID funds, and it's a prescripted.
So when those COVID funds go away then, Jonah, is there gonna be a gap?
Then I think that's what we got. We're watching that right now to see.
It had been.
It had been.
Most child cares are really kind of break-even propositions.
Right.
You hope you're breaking even. They're really not money makers most of the time. And historically, that's where we've been at.
Yeah. I think it's been like a negative 10,000 one year, and it was that we ended the year with.
So if we see that coming, can we like warn some families like, hey, because I'm assuming families budget this.
That's why we do it now for flex, for the people that work on their flex for the next calendar year.
When will that COVID funding go away though?
We've got 2 years of it.
2 more years.
And it depends, and so the way that we've done it to calculate the child care is, if we go back to March of 2020, we still had to pay everybody. Remember, that was the edict that came down, that we paid everybody. And both food service and childcare are proprietary, so they have to make money. You just can't, so we had to code those salaries to the COVID funds. So when we coded those to that, then that kind of gave that money back to them. But we had 35 kids, and we usually have 300. You know, so we calculated how many staff would we have needed for 35, and that would be held harmless. And then the other part would be COVID money. That's how we had to figure out a way to do that, and that's how we ended up calculating it. And our numbers are about 250 right now, so it's healing. So I think when we calculate it, we have 4 site supervisors, an assistant director, and a director. So right now I'm coding the assistant director and 1.5 of the site supervisors to COVID funds. So they're getting that back, and they will get that back. And I think that the funds that they've received will help them maintain for a while. And if we don't increase, you know, we try to stay competitive with the other metro areas as well. And we were competitive, but on the high side. So if we can kind of heal that as well, that might help. So
we need to make a motion, right?
Yes.
Can you scroll back there, I think? I'll make a motion that we approve the 2022 summer and 2022-23 school year childcare rates as recommended to remain the same.
Moved by Sue.
Second that motion.
Seconded by Ben. Any further discussion by board members? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Sorry, Mac, I keep talking over you there. Next is appointing the. Next is appointing the audit committee.
So we do this every year, and we have 3 gracious community members that do this help us. And Rob has graciously volunteered to be the board rep for this committee. It meets pretty much once a year unless we have something weird that happens. A couple of years ago, when we changed auditors, we met more than once, but typically it's a once a year thing. We give the 3 members and our board rep the audit so they can go through it, and then we have the auditors before they'd come in, but now they've done it through Zoom, and as they have questions, they've been very good to ask questions that help, you know, that make me understand that they don't understand this piece, or to clarify some things better. So that's been helpful. So
Make a motion that we approve the audit committee as recommended. Kim Gallagher, Gina Piper, and Jay Whale.
Motion made by Sue.
Second.
Seconded by Tim. Any further discussion by board? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is the facilities project update.
he's just, you know, he should be part of that. The motion did include Rob as
Oh, I think they left me on.
in the motion.
Yeah, I think it was.
It's as presented, is what Sue
Yes.
said.
As
Yeah.
presented, I
Yes.
guess you can do that
Dang
committee.
it.
So the facilities update really hasn't
Right,
changed
and thanks Mimi for catching it.
it doesn't change much from last month, or last board meeting. We're waiting anxiously for everything to show up for the auditorium to finish. You know, that's prolonged longer than we thought it would be, but I think it'll be done by the beginning of the year, and will be a nice, clean, new, it'll look really nice, I think.
Yeah, the improvements already are really nice. We were there for a concert right before Thanksgiving.
I'm
for
trying to get there
jazz
tonight.
and show choir.
For a 7 o'clock concert, so, no, a 6:30 concert.
think
7th grade starts at 6:30.
You can make it, I think you can make it.
So, yeah.
I did touch base with Envision too. They had conflicts with Mondays in December. They have another big project where they're committed to a board on Mondays, but then we changed our meeting Tuesdays, so Laura said, oh, we're gonna have to check that. So, you know, I do need to get them in front of you to go through auxiliary service building plan and ask any questions you have and get approval for the scope of that, so we can get out to bid yet this winter. So that's, it depends on how many questions you have.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be a super long project because it's a pretty compact, not that complicated building. But I'll get Envision in front of you at some point and get approval to move forward on that.
Yeah, the auditorium looks great over there. before final touches even. Sorry, next is the board policies. This must be.
Yep, this is the second reading. I haven't heard anything in between readings or had anything.
Nope. Just a motion would be required.
Motion to approve the second reading of the listed board policies.
Motion made by Ben,
I'll second it.
seconded by Donna. Any further discussion by board members? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is our board calendar. As Art said, just he'll probably be getting something on the calendar for December for us. Will that probably be a separate Tuesday night then?
If it's not a big agenda on the 14th, for example, if they can come, we could put it on a regular meeting. Wouldn't necessarily have to have another night, so
Okay.
we can kind of see what it's looking like, and I'll reach out to the board too, make sure we're good. But don't you think that, John, we could probably put that on a regular meeting?
We need to ask them to see what their
available.
expanse is, what they think it'll be.
Yep.
So Ray, I'm reading this, that there's no technology till the end of January. Is that right?
Because it's Christmas, yeah.
Or
Oh,
policy.
because it's normally.
Policy, the fourth Thursday, we'd be hitting
Okay.
in that. And we're actually okay. We can afford to do that if you're okay with that.
No.
I mean, we can come in on the night of the 20th or the morning of the 23rd or something if you want to. but-
I want to make sure I was correct in what I was.
Yeah, yep.
That's what I was couldn't find my.
It's been a while.
So but once we get through break, January, it's going to be more regular
Yeah.
routine, so.
I'll miss Thursday facilities.
That's this week, right?
Yeah. Work obligation.
Okay. And then next is the board. Agenda. Looks pretty light.
You probably have room to do
Yeah, just looking at that, I think we do, yeah.
I would have made you leave.
I doubt I'll check with him on this date specifically, but she was.
Yep.
That's everything, you guys, on this one.
And we'll be
Like an early holiday gift. I got the packet, I'm like, 67.
Well, don't get used to it. We'll
I
get
know.
back, we'll have a 200
Oh, I
page
know.
one sometime.
I think our record is 378.
It's a heavy one. Did you make that motion, Donna?
I did make that motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Donna to adjourn. Any seconded? Matt seconded, good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Don't you remember your first couple meetings, Sue? We took it easy. We got you. You kind of had fun. You thought, oh, this is no big deal. That's what we do with the
And
new
then we
board
had an
members.
emergency meeting